Alrighty. Today might be trying to think might be the last like actual kind of lecture with the AP Psych review. Oh, sorry. First, can you see it? Sorry. Hopefully nobody got motion sick there. Yeah, I think this might be the last one. And I've got a couple more videos to send to you. Um, Probably more on just kind of the exam itself rather than content. But I think this is the last actual kind of lecture, okay? This is about the attribution theory, conformity, and discrimination, okay? So real quick, cognitive dissonance, right? So if you remember that, that's basically, dissonance is bad, right? It's almost like stress. It's almost like a state of anxiety. We are motivated to reduce dissonance when we experience it. So remember, maybe the idea of like someone who is addicted to smoking, they know that it's bad for them, that it causes cancer or whatever, and so they work hard to rid themselves of something that they want, right? Maybe someone who knows littering is wrong but spilled something in their car, and as they're driving they threw it out, right? And then later they turn around and they go back and pick it up, right? Sometimes we are motivated to rid ourselves of dissonance. There's something called the self-consistency bias, and that's just going to be your belief that your behaviors and your attitudes or actions are more consistent than they are, right? There's a lot of times we are hypocritical. There's a lot of times maybe we say one thing and do another, right? Self-consistency bias is this belief that we are more constant, more consistent in our actions and our beliefs and what we do or what we say than we really are. Conformity, okay? So that gets to conformity. Conformity is basically falling in line with others. Giving up maybe your ideals, giving up your principles, adopting to the status quo, right? So that is kind of conformity. Famous experiment, Solomon Asch. I think they just kind of call it the line experiment, but Solomon Asch, okay? So basically what he does is he has like 4 or 5 guys who are in on the experiment. They know what's going on, right? They are playing a part. And then one person who doesn't know what's going on. And he does it a couple different ways, but he shows like 4 lines, right? And each line is different in length, and he'll ask them which one is the longest line, A, B, C, or D, and everyone answers the obvious answer, right? And they do this 3 or 4 times, and then let's just say the 5th time he shows one, and the 4 or 5 guys who are in on it, they purposely choose the wrong answer. And the person who is actually kind of being experimented on, he or she has to sit there and think, oh crap, I thought it was going to be C, but all these guys are saying A. I don't want to look like an idiot. And over time they found out that an overwhelming majority of people would conform, even though they knew C was the wrong answer. They still went with the group because, well, they had answered right the first few times, and maybe there's something wrong with me, right? And they conform. um, uh, let's see. Another one is Stanley Milgram. We've talked about this. Stanley Milgram. We wouldn't be able to pull this off today. Probably a lot of ethical considerations that he violated. But Stanley Milgram, this is going to be all about obedience. And I believe this kind of maybe a little too much background, but I believe he was in the 50s and kind of 50s or early 60s, and kind of thinking about how did everyday regular Joe Schmo Nazi soldiers carry out all these terrible experiments and terrible genocide and mass killings and extermination camps? Why would normal people do this? And so he does this experiment, right? And basically, it's all about the person who is the participant, right? It's about getting them to deliver electric shock onto another person. You can YouTube this, and you can see the real footage, the actual footage, not remade or anything like that. You can see the actual footage of the Milgram experiment. It's really fascinating stuff. But basically, right? So I sign up for an experiment, have no idea what's going on. They sit me down. They say, hey, when you turn this dial, when we tell you turn this dial to 1, it's gonna shock someone just a little bit. When you turn it to 2, a little bit more. When you turn it to 5, it's a pretty good shock. When you turn it to 7, yeah, that's really a lot of pain. And if you get to 10, you might kill them, okay? Now, they have to answer questions correctly. When they don't answer questions correctly, you have to administer a shock. And each time you have to administer a shock, you've got to turn it up to the next number in line. And so basically, a guy in a lab coat, right, who looks like he's in charge, a guy in a lab coat is standing right next to them, making sure they're doing it correctly. And they have, let me make sure, yeah, 65% of the people in this study deliver shock to the level 8, 9, 10. Okay, so they are delivering shock to a point in which they might kill another human being. Now, what's fascinating is they're not shocking anyone. They think they are, but they're not. They have no idea that the other person on the other side of the wall getting shocked is actually in on the experiment. They're an actor, right? And this person will beg, they will cry, they will scream, they will just beg for mercy, beg to not do it again. They'll scream, and then they'll all of a sudden shut up like they passed out or like they were killed. And it's just crazy that 65% of these Americans continue going to 7 to 8 to 9 to 10 just because the person in charge, right, this authority figure in the white coat, just because they told them to. Again, you can YouTube it, watch the video, it's crazy. Philip Zimbardo, talked about this last year as well. This is the Stanford prison experiment. It was supposed to go on for, I want to say like 2 weeks to a month, somewhere in there, maybe 2 or 3 weeks. And it's actually cut short after just a few days. But anyways, so this is all about conformity and obedience and authority. So 24 people sign up for this experiment or picked for this experiment, 24 students at Stanford University. And they are divided into prison guards and prisoners, right? And so Zimbardo and his team are supposed to, just kind of study, who complies, who conforms, who is obedient, stuff like that, right? And it's crazy that overwhelmingly the prison guards take on like a very mean, a very overly authoritative, almost like an evil persona, right? Even if they were very shy or very mild-mannered people, they took on this really, really extreme persona that was over the top. And that's mostly because they kind of coached one of these guys, the kind of like a head guard, to try to get people to conform, and they did. They conformed to exactly how he wanted them to. And then the prisoners, they lost their self-worth. They conformed to that mindset that a prisoner does, that they are no longer worth what a free person is worth. They were incredibly obedient. They did like humiliating things, that probably typical prisoners don't have to do, just because they were told to. Now, it is cut short because some of the guards go too far, and some of the prisoners kind of freak out and lose it and demand to be released and act like they're being incredibly sick. So it's cut short. Let's see here. Diffusion of responsibility. We haven't gone over this. This is a concept that occurs when people feel less of a responsibility to take the right action when others are present, right? So you kind of lose yourself, you kind of de-individualize, the bystander effect, whatever you want to call it. But it's this process of you knowing you should step in to stop something, you should step up to say something, you should pull over to help somebody, the Good Samaritan, that kind of stuff. But you don't because others are present. Maybe you don't want to be judged, or maybe you're expecting someone else to. De-individuation, we did this a lot in sociology last year. Temporary loss of self-awareness due to being in a group. So you can think of crowds at a sporting event. You might not be one to yell cuss words at someone. You might not be the kind of person to boo somebody, to throw your drink at somebody, like Steve Bartman and the Cubs, if you remember that. But de-individuation is when you're in a group, sometimes you lose your identity, your self-awareness, and you take on what they're doing. That happens sometimes in public fights, right? You might not be the one to cheer on a fight whatsoever, but as everyone starts screaming, maybe you do too. The bystander effect, tendency for strangers not to help a person in need. You probably are waiting for somebody else to help them, or you are probably unsure if something bad might happen if you try to help. Social loafing, tendency for people to do less when they are in a shared group or a group on a shared task. Okay, so if I told you to complete a project and you were by yourself, you'd probably do a pretty good job of it, right? You do all the work, right? You would go through the checklist. But if you were in a group, you would probably try a little bit less hard. You would maybe assume your partners would do more of the work, right? Family cleaning might be the same thing. You got to clean the house. You might expect, anticipate that maybe the parents will pick up the slack, or your siblings would pick up the slack. Team sports at the end of practice or beginning practice, when it's time to get out the supplies or put them away, you might kind of do less than you should because you're expecting others to do more. All right, getting close here. Group think. Okay, so again, another term we kind of did last year. Group think, the process and result of group members agreeing with each other and excluding info that doesn't kind of fit their agenda. Okay, so sometimes this happens in the military, in times of war. Attacking this place or attacking that place. A drone strike, invading this place or that place, or how to invade. And there might be certain people who are, yeah, let's do it, let's go, green light, let's attack. And even though there's probably some information out there that says, this isn't the best idea, now isn't the best time, you don't bring that up because so many other people are saying, yes, this is what we should do. I had on here also kind of maybe like a senior skip day. You don't want to be the person to step up and say, nah, we shouldn't do this. We should show up to school. We should keep up our grades, maintain attendance, whatever it might be. Okay. Group polarization. That is the process and the result of group members taking increasingly more extreme positions within a group, right? So we're in a group together. You say left, I say right, and we refuse to go to the middle. You go further left the more I talk, and I go further right the more that you talk, right? So sometimes a group polarization shows up in juries, like trying to an innocent verdict or a or a guilty verdict, non-guilty or guilty. And when you have your mindset and you believe that, you tend to polarize yourself or distance yourself from people who have the opposite, right? And if you are both operating with that same mindset, you just continue distancing yourself away. Even though you might have points that I need to hear, and I might have information you need to hear, group polarization, it's not a good thing. And it's basically just you are overly confident, right? And you are refusing to hear anything on the opposite side. The last one here is the just world phenomenon. False belief that the world is fair and that people will get what they deserve, right? And where does this really have its roots? Probably in your childhood, when they tell you, just be good and you'll get a treat. Just be good and good things will happen. Different promises that are made in your childhood. Victim blaming, right? When something bad happens, well, they shouldn't have done such and such and it wouldn't happen, right? That kind of victim blaming mindset. That just kind of belongs to the just world phenomenon, in which we think that, but it's not fact, right? They could have done everything right and bad stuff still might happen to them, right? You could do everything wrong and good stuff still might happen, right? So the just world phenomenon. Okay, so I've got two different assignments there of FRQ sent out to you guys. One of them also has the responses. The other one that I just sent out, I'll send out the responses to you hopefully tomorrow. A couple more videos coming here and there. But this is what I want, okay? And I'm going to send out an email so you guys get this too. I would think, because I know you guys are preparing for other exams, but how about this? 10 minutes, right? And I'm going to log on to make sure it's shared, but 10 minutes each day from here on out, right? And this is addition to the studying that you are already doing, but 10 minutes each day from here on out. So that's going to be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Each day for at least 10 minutes, add something, add a lot of things to our AP Psych Google slide review. Okay, so I've got 20 some slides, 30 some slides, whatever it is, already on there. And we've got a whole bunch of notes here, a whole bunch of videos. How about each day, each of you, and there's what, 9 of you, maybe 8 of you, 7 of you consistently watching, each day you guys add something to that slide, right? And I'll do the same thing. I'll hop on every day and I'll try to add examples or graphics or whatever it might be. But each day you guys add something just in case you want to print all of that stuff out and have it handy. All right. That's it. Please participate. See you.